I'm gonna put the Freeman on it, Dick. I'm gonna put the Freeman on it.
All right, we're going to start the meeting. Why don't you guys talk in a few minutes? Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Town of Delafield. Good evening. I'd like to call the order the Town of Delafield Board of Supervisors meeting for Tuesday, December 14th. If you'd all rise and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mr. Green, a roll call if you would.
Supervisors Dianasopoulos.
Present.
Kranek.
Present.
Wolfley.
Present.
Michaels.
Present.
And Chairman Troy.
Present.
Thank you.
Citizen comments. Public comments from citizens regarding items on or not on the agenda. The board may not engage in a discussion with the citizens making the comments. Individual presentations are limited to 3 minutes, and citizens shall follow the rules set forth in Section 2.04 sub 1 sub D of the Town Code, which limit public comments to 30 minutes. Is anybody like to comment on anything either on or not on the agenda? If you would, just come to the podium and present Dan with a slip of paper, and we can go. No takers? Thank you. So we'll move on to the approval of the minutes of November.
We got one.
Okay. Then we'll move on to the approval of the minutes of November 16th, 2021, Town Board minutes. Any changes, comments, corrections?
Motion to approve the minutes as presented by the clerk.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the November 16th Town Board meeting is submitted by the clerk. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Action on vouchers submitted for payments. I believe there are no budget amendments, so we'll move to accounts payable and payroll.
So for accounts payable, I'd like to make a motion to approve payments of checks 65115 through 65165 in the amount of $172,544.79. And for payroll, a motion to approve the payrolls dated December 10th, 2021 in the amount of $13,816.90.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. I'll pass around these things to sign. There's some going back that Dan found through an audit of our files that were approved by the board but just not signed. So there's more than just this week's. Thank you. Communications, City of Delafield public hearing on B6 zoning amendments. It's Mr. Green.
Sure. So this is just an update that the city of Delafield is looking to redo their B6 zoning ordinance. Some of that has to do with the gun range that they're proposing as an indoor gun range and event menu. The other is regarding the piece of property that's across the street that currently is SEH, so that parcel. So there's a public hearing tomorrow night at 7 o'clock at the city. If anyone's interested in attending or hearing more information about it, that's all I have.
Have we heard anything more about what's planned for the property across the street?
Just what we know based on the development study that they did. So higher density residential.
Well, based on a meeting I had with Ken Atwell, the mayor of the city, several weeks ago that I informed the board of, first of all, he's changing the ordinance to accept 4-story buildings throughout the town or the city. And he plans to put multifamily there with access on the Maple. So theoretically, and it's more than one facility is what he told me. It's an important topic, and we have virtually very little, if any, control at all. Our only possible control is to require turning lanes on Maple and things like that. But if he puts in, several multifamily apartments that are 4 stories tall, the traffic on Maple and coming out by the fire department exit. It's going to impact that significantly.
Do you have that website, Dan, again?
Yeah, I'll forward it to
Okay,
the
thank you.
board again.
Why don't you post it on our website?
Does it make sense to, in some way, get the fire board engaged, to ask what their access needs might be?
I think it's a great idea.
Just to make sure that we're protected and,
Because it goes right across where they come out now from the engineering building. That engineering building's been sold. The developer's going to tear it down, put up multifamily, and it's going to use that egress right out on Maple, which is directly across the street from our fire department egress.
well, I know we talked about it the first time you introduced it, Mr. Chairman, but the runoff also is something we should keep an eye on. That's such a big hill that runs right into our property.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
And we've met with Dan and I, and Eric and Tim have all talked about what we can do, even at the gun club. Can we require a turning lane into the gun club so it doesn't stop traffic as people, we don't control the gun club, but the egress to the gun club is again off of Maple Avenue. So, anyhow, there is no unfinished business, so we'll move to new business, item 9A. Discussion and possible action on a recommendation from the Plan Commission to approve an amendment to the town zoning code to create section 17.04 sub 5 sub R, a planned development district. Now, just a little overview. The town, through me, we were contacted by the Thomas family attorney several months ago, about 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks. And when I was informed that the family has, quote, design concepts they wish to present to the town board. I was uncomfortable with design concepts being presented to the town board. So in discussions with the town attorney and Waukesha County, it was determined that the proposed ordinance should be referred back to the Plan Commission because the Plan Commission is the proper body to review any plan design concepts. And then if it goes back to the Plan Commission, then they'll have to go through the whole process, presentations open to the public, and eventually there'd be a public, before the Plan Commission can do anything, there'd be a joint public hearing between the Plan Commission and the town board, again, open to the full public, open to where the public would have comment capabilities. And then the Plan Commission could act. So with that as background, and based upon the situation, I'm requesting a motion be made to refer the Plan Development District back to the Plan Commission. Now, if the motion is approved, it would be on the February Plan Commission, the first Tuesday in February, not on the January Plan Commission. And I'm told that there's at least 2 planned concepts that the family would like to present to the Plan, or hopefully the Plan Commission.
So I guess why would we send it back and keep this particular ordinance alive rather than having them start where when I look at what we have on the books for the ordinances, we don't have anything on the books for the ordinances for multi-use, right? For multi-use land purposes, right? So if we are going to have a multi-use land ordinance on the books, I feel like that should be first before we end up with something that comes through the Plan Commission that has to go under a multi-use land ordinance.
Can I take that, Mr. Chairman?
Sure, go ahead.
I think, from my perspective, while a lot of the ordinance wasn't to my liking, I mean, you can go back and watch the Plan Commission meetings from last spring and kind of see my view on it. I think there were a lot of things in there that was good, a lot of things that we were asking for that were good. So, I mean, if the family has some plans, I'm open to sending it back to the Plan Commission and seeing what those plans are. Hopefully, they've taken the guidance of the community and the guidance of what other Plan Commission members and the feeling of the board at the time, and have taken that information and revamped and come back to us with a better plan. I mean, my only frustration is you know, we had asked for an update, and, you know, it was kind of, nothing was happening. Like, I'm glad that there's a plan, and let's just, I think we just send it back to the Plan Commission and let them start over, and let the process kind of start over, that, you know, they'll present it to us at the February meeting, and then we'll start the deliberations and the public comments, and we'll hopefully get to somewhere where we can all live with.
Sure, so I understand that, and I'm glad there's a plan too, theoretically. I guess my concern comes in that if we approve a multi-use ordinance that's specific to one property that then doesn't, and otherwise we don't have in our books anything else as far as a multi-use, right, district, right? We got residential, agriculture, business districts, industrial districts, park and conservatory districts. We don't have anything for multi-use district. If we have any other properties that want to come up and use the multi-use, or become a multi-use piece of property or parcel, right? And then they say, okay, well then this is the outline that I want to keep. I guess that's my concern with guiding that.
You were not on the board throughout the whole process, but you don't start with zoning, you start with a land use plan. We changed as a town board in December of 2019, the land use was changed on this property from commercial to mixed use.
Okay.
Okay, and the board voted for it, 4-1. Now we have, as a municipality, we have an obligation because we have a land use plan. We have a land use designation. We must have an ordinance that conforms to that land use designation. So we have to do.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think, but what I'm saying is,
And then anybody who wants to use it on any other property will have to start, again, just as Thomas said, come in and request a land use change.
sure.
And
So I guess what I'm saying is as far as a present, what this ordinance is specific to that property, correct?
not necessarily, it fits, there are criteria, and candidly, it's been so long, I forget a lot of the criteria, but there's specifications in this ordinance that other properties wouldn't even want. You know, the land use plan requires a comprehensive plan with a whole lot. The whole property is developed basically by one developer, and we have a water study, a sewer study, and a sanitary district study. We've never done that on any other property. So if a farm along 18 wants to get land use, they have to accept that liability, that they have to have all of those things on it, that burden. So this is.
And so that would be applicable to every potential mixed-use property moving forward if they attach to that particular ordinance.
Well, I'm told by our people, being Tim Barbeau, and that the likelihood that somebody else would want to come in and claim a land designation is very small. In fact, he doesn't know where it would go to.
Joe, I share your concerns. I don't want the town to become the city of Delafield where we're changing things across the board. So I agree with you. My recollection of reading it is that it is very specifically tailored to this parcel of land, and that it would not have applicability. I certainly think we should take a close look at it, but that was my.
And yeah, that was
The
my
intent, too.
understanding as well. But I mean, I guess what I'm saying is, so if you have something like the Oakton apartment development, right? Say, hey, look what they did over here, fantastic. Let me bulldoze this and hop onto that, right? Like, is that going to be?
Is that apples and apples?
No, I mean, at the end of the day, this ordinance was very specific to this specific property.
Okay, so that's fine, but then where do we go from if we ever have any other multi-use land come to us, right? Do we go through this whole thing again? And then if there's pieces in this that don't work how we want it to, right, or aren't.
You can always amend the ordinance. How many ordinances have we amended in the last year and a half since I've been chairman? We're amending all of our ordinances because they're all out of date.
Sure, I agree with that.
And this
If you were-
this ordinance is up to, you know, I mean, let's see what the Thomas family has to present to us in February, and let the Plan Commission do their work, and if And if this board doesn't like what the board, planning commission does, this board has the final say.
Yeah, we'll-
I hear you, I hear that, right? In a residential, so if you're talking about residential agriculture, whatever, they've got all of these pieces that we've been arguing about spelled out inside of that ordinance, right? So size of a lot, everything, like setbacks, all the things that are already spelled out inside of the residential piece, inside of an agriculture district, business district. So that's already all spelled out in here. So I guess what,
in what?
in the zoning districts, right? For, when you look at,
Sure, we
Right.
have ordinances for
Right.
every zoning
So I
district,
guess-
with the exception of one.
so.
But at the end
we've
of the
just said
day-
that this ordinance is specific to this property. So do we think it's a good idea to have an ordinance that's exactly specific to one property and not have a multi-use ordinance that spells out the minimum of where we are, that then if we have if somebody comes in and asks for an exception to an ordinance or changes this based on that particular property, we can assess it by that property, right? When somebody comes in to build residential, right, they're fitting into one of these residential blocks. And then if there's got to be something tweaked to that residential block, then they come in front of the board and do that, right? So if we have a mixed-use ordinance already in here with we come up with that, right, that then their plan can say, hey, this fits into 95% of your mixed-use ordinance. Here's where we'd like to have a variance.
And we can deny it.
I get,
There's no reason to approve it. If we don't, if the plan commission's opposed to it, and that's a vote after a public hearing. There's nothing locking anything in here. We're not changing the zoning. We're not approving anything. We're just sending it back.
We're just trying to create an ordinance at the end of the day.
And we have an obligation to create the ordinance.
I don't disagree that there should be an ordinance in the zoning districts that has multi-use specifically spelled out. I'm just not sure that it's the right way to go with a specific property, right? That ordinance is designed around one specific property.
But doesn't designing it around or tailoring it closer to one specific property prevent, in my mind, it prevents it from becoming a town-wide thing? I think it helps prevent the thing that you're worried about.
Unless you've got people
right?
that come up and say, they did that, I want to do that.
You cannot set precedent on land development. Every piece of land is unique. The zoning board of appeals cannot, in its case after case after case, cannot set a precedent. Every ruling is unique because the land itself is unique.
And Joe, there's only, I believe, 4 other properties, and they're all much smaller than Thomas. I think the biggest one is maybe, 6 or 7 acres that has that ability to be mixed use. Everything else would be requiring a land use amendment, and that's something the board would have to discuss at that point. So if you don't want, let's say, Oakton Beach to be zoned as mixed use, the board would have to review and approve that land use along with Waukesha County. So, and I get your point that there's a mixed use land use, but there's not a specific zoning text for it.
Correct.
But I guess we're not dealing with that right now because we're dealing with the land use change that's in front of us right now. I think we can always go back after we've gone through this process and say, well, let's make standards then for our mixed use. But it is pretty much specific to this property. I mean, it doesn't say Thomas on
Sure.
it, but I think it was designed, and we all know it was designed for a specific reason.
I think your concern's good, Joe, and I think it's something we should keep monitoring.
Yeah, it's of just, that it seems early, right? It seems like it's backwards in the sense of that we don't have it in the books, on the books of what the minimum standard is, and then have their proposal presented to us, and then approve it or approve any variance to what a minimum standard is. And so, if you guys are, that's where I stand on it. I think that's
Okay.
a little early.
I recall us having this discussion, and and I apologize, I'm not sure if it was Plan Commission or at this level, since been on both, and that we were afraid of making a mixed-use ordinance because, as has been mentioned, not every piece of property will fit into that, and that may be dangerous to make a mixed-use ordinance that we intend to fit every property when every single property that may come forward is unique, and we would not want to have a cookie cutter, and that could really come back to bite us. That was discussed, I want to say it was at the Plan Commission level, and it's been a while.
It was early on.
It was very early on, and that was why we decided to go with a very specific plan for this property. And at that time, we felt that that was the safest for the town to create what we felt was appropriate for that property. So,
Yeah, all right.
Okay.
Is there any, and I'll lean to the folks that are on the plan commission, is there any wisdom in, for example, I'd like to see the density reduced. Is there any wisdom in giving that guidance to the plan commission while we remand it, to say, we're remanding this to you, here's some high-level guidance that we have as you review this again? Saying, we're
Well,
remanding
as
it
a
with the
town
guidance.
supervisor, you're free to call any member on the plan commission. And plus, you have two of us on the plan commission, and I know we're shy and quiet, but we'll express it.
We could remand it with guidance, is what I'm asking, to specifically reduce the density, or,
I think my feeling is, let's see what they come back with. Hopefully, they've heard us loud and clear. That's what we'd like to see? Hopefully, that's what they come back with in February.
you guys are on the plan commission, so
Uh-huh.
I'll defer to you as to how you want to take it back up on the plan commission, so.
Well, I'll take a motion.
Motion to refer the amendment for the town zoning code to create section 17.04, parent 5, parent N, the Plan Unit Development District 1, back to the Plan Commission.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to refer section 17.04, sub 5, sub R, Plain Development District Number 1, back to the Plan Commission. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
One opposed. Let the record reflect one is opposed. So it's approved, it goes back to the Plan Commission, and again, as of right now, it's scheduled for the February, I believe that's February, first Tuesday in February,
February 1st.
February 1st. Assuming the Thomas family is actually ready to come forward with their design concepts. Okay. And again, no action is going to be done without everybody being involved and everything discussed and everything looked at. Item 9B, discussion and possible action on a letter of credit reduction for the retreat subdivision. I'll defer to Mr. Green.
Tim has reviewed this letter of credit reduction. He's put his stamp of approval on it. Most of the site is complete. They're just finishing up a few things. Mr. Spears' son is here in case anybody has any questions. But it's pretty standard. They've almost done all the work on the site, and it's coming together really well. So I don't know if you have anything to add or if there's any questions from the board, but.
Motion
It's
to
pretty straightforward.
reduce the letter of credit for the retreat subdivision by $694,632.70.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to reduce the letter of credit for the retreat subdivision. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Discussion and possible action on the adoption of Resolution 21-652, adopting the 2022 Lake Country Municipal Court budget. Again, Mr. Green.
Sure. So this is just approving the Lake Country Municipal Court budget. I went to a meeting about 3 weeks ago. Everything on the budget looks good. They're not looking at any deficits for next year. So my recommendation is to approve the resolution to approve the 2022 Lake Country Municipal budget.
As I was reading this, the successor agreement, is it just a name change? Is that what's changing?
That's
all
the
of us?
next agenda item, right?
It's,
Yeah.
You're one ahead.
Okay, so they're not, They're not related?
The budget's separate from the agreement, and I can go into that at the next.
Okay.
The next item.
Well, I'll motion to approve the Lake Country Municipal Budget Court for 2022.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to approve the Lake Country Municipal Court budget. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? They have a new budget. Discussion and possible action on the approval of ordinance 2021-10, an ordinance to create and establish a municipal court pursuant to section 755.0401 sub 4 and 66.0301 of the Wisconsin statutes. This is, Mr.
So
Green.
this is to recreate or reestablish the agreement with Lake Country Municipal Court. There were some state statute changes that required this to come up, so we need to repeal the ordinance that we passed in, I think it was 2019. So we're not reestablishing anything. We're just complying with state statutes by adopting this. Most of the language is the same. It's just some state statute references. Other than that, what was your question regarding?
I just, that clarifies it.
Yeah, it's just a very subtle change that, unless you do track change on the document, you're probably not going to find it.
I
So,
gotcha.
Just coming into compliance.
Motion to approve the action on, or ordinance to create and establish municipal court pursuant to section 75014 and 660301 for Wisconsin statutes.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Discussion and possible action on Resolution 21-653, a resolution to establish wards and polling locations for the town of Delafield.
This is a requirement from Waukesha County, and this is more cleanup in regards to the census. So we just have to reestablish all our wards and their polling locations, and that's exactly what this is doing. So.
Motion to adopt resolution number 21-653, a resolution to establish wards and polling locations for the town of Delafield.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Discussion and possible action on approval of election inspectors for the 2022-2023 election cycle.
This is a requirement for every election cycle. 2022 begins the next election cycle. We're required to approve all the list of election inspectors, including the list from the Republican and Democratic parties. In your packet, you will see highlighted in red and blue, which they're not printed in color, so you won't be able to see that, but the highlighted
They're on
ones
the
are,
website.
yeah, they are the appointed from the Republican and Democratic parties. The rest is just our list of poll workers that we use for the cycle, so.
Is that what the hard break on this list is? Is that between?
No, the hard break is, we separate them by where they work. So the hard break is
Oh,
either
okay.
town hall or the other two polling locations.
Gotcha.
Thank you to all our poll workers. It's a
That's
good
it?
list. Thank you to all those folks that help.
Oh, yeah, especially the poll workers.
Yeah.
Great.
That's an impressive list.
Motion to approve the election inspectors for the 2022-2023 election cycle as presented.
Second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the election inspectors for the 2022-2023 election cycle. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Discussion and possible action on the appointment of Jennifer Barker to the Lake Pewaukee Sanitary District Board with a term expiring April 18th, 2023. This issue arose because John Gutenkoost, who's been on the board for quite a while and an excellent member, moved out of the area. He's still in the area, but he's not on the lake. In my discussions with John, he recommended highly Jennifer Barker. So Jennifer has applied, and we need a motion to appoint her to the Lake Pewaukee Sanitary District Board.
I'll motion to approve Jennifer Barker to the Lake Pewaukee Sanitary District Board with a term expiring April 18th, 2023.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to appoint Jennifer Barker to the Lake Pewaukee Sanitary District Board with a term expiring April 18th, 2023. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Now, I think her appointment may be subject to the other municipalities appointing her as well, but I'm not.
Yeah, the, Pewaukee will have to approve as well.
Pewaukee, yeah. With that, we'll move on to 10, announcements and planning. Town Hall is closed December 24th and Monday, December 27th, as well as Friday, December 31st, and Monday, January 3rd. The Plan Commission, and we will have a joint public hearing on the 4th for a cell phone tower that's being requested along Maple Avenue, very near Wales, on a farm just by 18, I believe. We need at least one more supervisor
Oh,
Fourth?
on the
January
4th. January, you can do it? Great, Christie will do it. We don't need you guys, you're useless.
you've won. You got Christie.
And that's at 6:30, regular planning commission meeting. And that's to my knowledge, that's the only item on the agenda, so it should be in and out. Town board meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, January 11th at 6:30. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? We are adjourned. Now, mister, you had something you wanted